You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 24th meeting of the LaPorte County Council. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening. I'd like to call the March regular LaPorte County Council meeting to order. Please silence all cell phones while we stand and the pledge for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Yagelski.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Otter, the roll, please.
Mark Yagelski.
Present.
Mr. President. Present. Mr. Novak.
Present.
Mr. Mullenhour.
Present.
Mr. Cron.
Present.
Mr. Keel.
Present.
Mr. Kessler.
Present.
7-0. Everybody's here.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to ask for a motion of approval for the agenda.
Mr. President, I have a couple corrections to the agenda as presented. First item would be to scratch appointment of county appointment of county council attorney. The second would be to add liaison reports in between department heads and correspondence. The third item, if we could move EDC Director Matt Reardon from new business back to ordinances and resolutions. And then the last thing would be under old business, add treasurer's office request to hire first or second deputy. That's all the corrections I have.
Thank you. With the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Can I have an approval for the February 24th, 2025 regular meeting minutes?
So moved, Mr. President. Second.
It's a motion by Mr. Yagelski, second by Mr. Novak. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Public comment. Anyone from the public like to speak?
Good evening. Steve Hollifield, 6782 East, 100 South, also County Commissioner. Just giving a little update on legislation. I spoke with Representative Pressel on Friday afternoon. Senate Bill 1 is moving ahead, but is under lots of amendments. But it's still, if currently passed, we're looking at $2.5 to $3 million restrictions, a loss in the first year alone. If it's vetoed, it sits still and does nothing for at least 1 to 2 years. But these changes are coming. I mean, we need to seriously look at curtailing spending, vehicles, department heads, directorships, raises, stuff like that. We're hearing a lot every day. I heard today on Sound Off today. The county employees are tired of being passed up for raises, but yet other people are getting raises and other things are being spent. So I just hope you guys realize that as we go through today's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Tommy Kolovic from 1316 Ohio Street. I'm a Michigan City man. Good evening to our distinguished and honorable LaPorte County Council members. I'd like to make a couple public service announcements. Looking for a good summer job, and this is maybe for your teenagers. They're hiring age 16 and up, your college students, young adults. Maybe you're for older, you're a good swimmer. And they pay almost $30 an hour. Mayor Perry put that pay scale in about 4 years ago. We pay the highest rates for any lifeguards on Lake Michigan. Michigan City, Washington Park, lifeguards needed. Requirements: must have a valid driver's license, must pass a drug screening, must pass a prerequisite swim test prior to the hiring, test date to be determined, must currently be a certified lifeguard or enrolled in a lifeguarding class. Of the Valparaiso and LaPorte YMCA are currently offering lifeguarding classes. Applications can be picked up at Michigan City City Hall at 100 East Michigan Boulevard or the Michigan City Fire Department's Administration Building Training Center on Michigan Boulevard, right there across from McDonald's. We all been to town, know where that's at. For more information, you can send a message or contact them at 219-873-1440, extension 4004, and that's our public information officer, Tia Free. we need lifeguards. This mostly goes out to those in South County, or maybe I don't know, people from around the state watch these meetings. Come up here, make a lot of money, be a lifeguard during the summer. I also want to mention this is something really special for all the veterans out there. Just so I had a conversation with the vice commander at the American Legion Ski Outpost 451. November 29th is National Vietnam Veterans Day. This was a day that was established by President Barack Obama in 2017. It was that day on March 29th, 1974, when the last U.S. troops were pulled out of Vietnam. So if you know a Vietnam vet, thank them for our service. And if you hear Vietnam vets, and thank them for their service. I also want to talk, Mayor Angie's going to have another town hall meeting at the Hope Center on McKellen Lab, the Becky Williams Center. They're the old Park Elementary School. And one of the things that's bound to come up is the redevelopment of the prison. And one thing that I always say, what's going to become of the cemetery grounds at the prison? I know it was talked about last year at your county council that it's going to become you want it to revert into a LaPorte County Pioneer Cemetery. And I don't think you're on the right page. Mayor Angie, she wants the city to take control of that cemetery. I think it would be best if the county takes over. Right now, the city, they really can't maintain Greenwood and Swan Lake Memorial Gardens. It's gotten so bad that last December, there was an elderly gentleman that came before our city council, and he reported it's gotten so bad the vagrants are coming out at night. They're making a temporary abode out of his wife's mausoleum at Swan Lake Memorial Gardens. I think that was really sickening. So, you know, I think it would be great. Those men, they go from being prisoners to pioneers. So with that all being said, that'll conclude my public comment for tonight. May peace be with you, and smoke and carbon monoxide detectors save lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jackie Dermody with Family Advocates, and I am just here with a little public service announcement as well. April is Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month, and just a reminder that in Indiana we are all mandated reporters. The 800 number for families to call is 800-800-5556, and I also have little child abuse prevention pins for everybody, if I could pass those out.
Absolutely.
Want to say anything about that candlelight vigil?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well.
Jackie, there's a candlelight vigil too in April. I think it's the 16th at the City Hall. Is that
April
correct?
16th, Geminis is hosting a candlelight vigil at City Hall. I believe it's 5 or 6 o'clock. Yes, that's correct. If you want to go down the list of events, there's a slew. I will say that if you go to lpfamilyadvocates.com, we are having a breakfast, a child abuse prevention breakfast. We are collaborating with Doombrook on Friday, April 11th. It is free. It is for community members. We have a speaker, and I believe it starts at 8 o'clock. You can register online. And I think there's a list of all the events for April. We have Wiffle Ball, Battle of the Badges, coming up on April 12th also. So there's a lot happening. So
I think United Methodist Church has something too. I was looking for the date.
I can't find the date. So yeah, you're right. They usually have a walk towards the
Right,
end
a
of the
walk
month.
that comes up to the courthouse. Yes.
Yes, correct. So
I thought I had it in here. Okay, if I find it, I'll.
you can send it to me. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Thank you. You as well. Anyone else for the public, for public comment? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. Department head reports. Any department heads that want to speak? Any on Zoom? Hearing none, department head comments are now, or department head reports are now closed. Liaison reports. Mr. Pressel.
Sir, Mr. President, so I've been meeting with FMEC regularly. I believe they're planning tonight. Doing a great job at trying to maintain all their budgets they have.
Watch your mic.
It is on.
Oh, yeah, I got green light on here. Not
I
working?
need to lean into it.
Oh, it's right in my face already here. So as I was saying, FMEC, been meeting with them regularly. Plan Commission, BZA meeting with all of them. Walk through at community corrections to look at the kitchen. Definitely needs some addressing on there. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Yagowski. Mr. Mullenhour.
Nothing.
Mr. Keel.
I spoke with all my liaison assignments this month, particularly weights and measures. He'll be having conversations with you all in the coming weeks or months about a request that he has. Mr. Yelski asked that I speak with him, so he's familiar with that. Spoke with the Chief Public Defender about their office and some of the things they have coming up and looking forward to budget hearings. Spoke with the Surveyor's office and the Recorder's office as well. Made a visit over to both of them. And I think that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Novak.
So the usuals, FMEC, RDC, and maybe Matt can give a little bit when he comes up about the groundbreaking that we attended out at KIP. That's some fantastic news out there. Attended the insurance meeting today with Adam. Spoke several times with Carl Sender regarding trying to get a handle on a wheel tax if the county were to have to implement it, because our state reps are telling us that it is inevitable and it's coming. And so we're just getting numbers together. This isn't saying it's coming in, but we're getting prepared for it. And then the extension board this last week, their annual dinner. So that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Kessler.
None at this time.
Okay, one thing I will add is for myself, and Mr. Kessler was present, met with EMS regarding how to take the striker end of life guarantees that come with a lot of the life-saving equipment and looking at financing options in order to move forward with proposal. Anticipate seeing him come to this meeting next month with what I believe is an advantageous proposal for the county to be able to move forward with that, yet be frugal with our funds. With that, liaison reports are closed. Correspondence.
None. I don't have any.
Okay.
Other than you've received your mail, so I didn't make a list of what you received in the mail.
Okay.
A magazine, a newspaper. There hasn't been any specific letters.
All right. The one thing that I would add is that's mentioned here is from Mr. George Collis, gave us each a packet on that last meeting. I provided it to Joey just this evening in order to make a copy and to be able to scan that into the record.
We probably have already done thinking it was last month, because we did originally have them on here and we pulled them off thinking that it was last month.
Okay. All right. With that, moving on to ordinances and resolutions. Number one, a resolution establishing the policy by which members of the county council may participate by electronic means of communication. We held this over from the February meeting. Mr. Novak, since you've been working with the attorney on this?
So I handed out, and the council received it ahead of time, the red line items. Since the last planning commission meeting, there were a couple tweaks made to it, so that basically, in a nutshell, it allows members of the council to attend one meeting unless they have an acceptable excuse listed below to attend a Zoom meeting. And then, other than that, it's only for invited guests, such as the way I see that is if there were a elected official or a department head that was on the agenda, they could request a Zoom link if they couldn't make it, but the Zoom link would not be published publicly and put out there. So it would be for people that have business with the specific agenda for that meeting. So. It's open to, I'm open to suggestions or.
Mr. Keel?
Yeah, I have a few suggestions on the part about who's able to get the link for this meeting. I think it's nice that we have Zoom available for people, members of the public who want to attend. We have people in our county who are disabled, who may live 50 minutes from our courthouse, who might be single mothers with 3 kids and don't have time to drive up here to come to a meeting to give public comment. And I think it's nice that we have that, and we're going to continue having Zoom. I'd like to see us have a method of those sort of people, or anybody who wants to attend via Zoom, request the link so we have their contact information. I think that would successfully reduce the risk of them hijacking our meetings as has happened in the past, while still balancing the desire to have accessibility for our meetings. So I'd offer up an amendment to this line to include anyone who requests access, pick a reasonable number of hours before the meeting, and they can be given a email-specific link to attend.
I could agree with that if they have specific business with the agenda. In other words, it's not just an open, anybody and everybody from the public can call in and go, hey, I want a link, I want a link, I want a link. That would defeat the whole purpose of tightening the,
So, I mean, would someone just wanting to share public comment be specific enough to request a link?
I guess if they needed to make a public comment, yeah.
Okay. And are we comfortable for people whose jobs, like reporters who might want to report on meetings and attend via Zoom, who don't necessarily have business before us?
They can
No, that's
watch
true.
it on
I suppose they
alcohol.
can watch it
And the
asynchronously.
thing is
Fair enough.
and it's also on YouTube. So to say, because here's the thing, Zoom links aren't always the most friendly. If you're not tech savvy, they're not the easiest things to always get on and get everything working. So there are other avenues for doing this. I mean, this is just to tighten it up so we don't have to deal with the shenanigans anymore. It's not to restrict public. It's just, if you didn't see it, you don't want to see it again. That's all I'm going to say.
So I keep hearing the word Zoom through all of this, and one thing that I've found is that Zoom isn't the only application and only solution for such a thing, right? And the biggest change that we would have to make is to where it is unique links assigned to the participant. That way you actually have some traceability as to who's involved with the meeting versus just having an open link, what we've had publicly posted on our website, attached to our minutes, that it's the same link every month. So there would need to be some changes there. Mr. Yagowski.
But I guess the biggest thing that happened is that when all this Zoom came about, it was kind of thrown together. Somebody said, hey, there's an idea about Zoom, and it became overnight success, and we didn't really get a chance to actually study or do the stuff we did, which is a good thing that we have this out. Anyway, but the problem with that particular night on the council meeting was that there's a generic people that are just put out for departments, and they don't have nothing to do with that department. So if we were going to do this, and we were going to have even a modified one, we need to get our departments who want to do it educated and put their name on it. Example, the person that night that signed up, it's not that individual's fault. The problem was they left all the safeguards down that were not proper for the meeting. So we have to have an educational part with this that we were never sort of 2021 when this whole world came to an end, or 2021, I'm sorry, whatever it was, and we just happily just jumped in this first thing that was available. But I know the particular people, we have people that have nothing to do with departments that their names are signed off on this stuff. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
The other thing is as long as we're allowing outside participants, we have to have an IT technician here to run it, and it can't just be, I mean, sometimes at redevelopment, we just have somebody sitting over there and letting people in. In the past, we don't do that anymore. But, it requires somebody to be here, and there is a cost to that, so.
Didn't the county commissioners do away with Zoom also, or the?
They did away totally with it.
That's what
And this isn't as restrictive. I mean, I could see a reason for it, such as, the commissioner's attorneys on Zoom. If sometimes there's reasons. Department heads, if a department head had to report, and sometimes in the past we've had department heads sit here till 9 o'clock at night just to ask for permission to spend. And I mean, that's a long time when they've got families. They don't get paid extra for that. So they'd be able to Zoom in still.
Any other comments or suggestions?
One other concern was I think we could still clarify what regularly scheduled council meetings are just a little bit more. Perhaps saying specifically the fourth Monday of the month, just so that this isn't creatively reinterpreted down the line, or that there's not confusion in the future.
I thought she tightened that up.
Right now it says
regularly scheduled council meetings. So those are the ones that we approved at the beginning of the year.
Okay, but we don't say that anywhere in here, so someone
Just
later might
regular?
come up with a different, it just says regularly scheduled.
I think that's what you want. You get too specific, we're going to have to pass a new resolution. This is specific enough.
So to clarify, that's the understanding I have. It's
Yeah.
the ones that were approved at the beginning of the year.
Right.
If a meeting gets moved off of that, then it doesn't count towards one of the meetings, or if it's a special meeting or things like that.
I would prefer the language here because let's assume for the purpose of discussion, the council changes its mind next year.
True.
It has it on the third Thursday of the month. I don't know, whatever. Well, we may or may not remember this resolution. If I put it this way, we have one definition, and that is what you guys define it to be in the beginning of the year.
Fair enough. So with that, I would make a motion to approve the resolution with one edit under the first or the second whereas, so that the final sentence of the second bullet
Mr.
reads.
President, point of order. You have to ask for the resolution to be read first.
That's
You have to
correct.
ask for the resolution to be read first.
All right.
Okay.
Motion to read by title only.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion by title only, please.
LaPorte County, Indiana County Council Resolution Number 2025-3A. That zero should be eliminated if you have a copy that says that. A resolution establishing the policy by which members of the county council may participate by electronic means of communication.
I got it.
Thank you. So now at this point, I would ask for motion to approve or deny.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve the resolution with an amendment under the second bullet point of the second whereas, so that the final sentence reads, allows for elected officials, county attorney, department heads, and guests who request a link in advance only.
Okay, so I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that with a friendly amendment to your amendment.
Okay.
The guests that, I guess, that have business
Oh, okay.
council. In other words, with this agenda, or if they want, public could be, they want to make a public comment, but it's not a tool to sit and just watch the meeting.
An active participant.
Right. If you have business with the agenda, if not, there's other avenues to. That way, it keeps it. Kind
I'm
of
probably
restricts.
partial to it being more open, but I'm open to other viewpoints. I acknowledge yours and what you're trying to accomplish with it.
And if down the road we need to tweak, I mean, I'm not opposed to, if we find that went too far or
Well,
whatever.
business of the county, that could be anything with county business instead of the agenda.
Well, they can make a public comment, right? Public comment could
Business
be
with the
regarding
county instead of
anything.
Business with the
Right.
agenda,
Right.
just asking.
But I guess it's the intention isn't to just allow
Agreed,
people to
agreed.
sit there and just to watch.
So I would say, instead of using with business with the agenda, it would open up your opportunity to say business with the county.
Okay. I can live with that. Guests who have business with the county who request a link in advance. That would be the final language.
All right, so
That-
suggestion came from Mr. Yagelski on a second from Mr. Novak. Mr. Novak's good.
I'm comfortable with that.
I'm good with it.
And is the attorney following everything over there?
We have that written down?
We'll be listening to this over and over again.
What paragraph are you talking about again?
It's down
The second, the red part, the second bullet of the second whereas.
where I have all my writing. And he wants, remove the word invited, and it would be guests who have
Guests who have business before the county who request a link in advance.
All right, got it.
business with the
And
county.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second?
We have a motion and
Point
a
of
second.
clarification, just for clarification,
Absolutely.
who do they request that from? It shouldn't be from, I guess, any and every council member and just willy-nilly handling it out. Maybe they need to get it through the auditor's office. That way you got one point,
Yeah,
and they can say who
he's
it
he's
is.
the secretary of the council, so we could just call it secretary of the council.
Right? Don't you? I mean,
I'm
that would-
good with that.
1 point. That's good. Right. All right.
All right. So we have a motion, we have a second, everything's clear up here. Good with the attorney who's finalizing resolution. So, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay.
Call that 6-1. Thank you. Continuing under ordinances and,
We're going to put in print, and then next month we'll sign it. we'll just pass it around and sign it now, just so that we know
good with
I don't want you to sign something now when this is not in print, properly in print.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Continuing under ordinances and resolutions, Mr. Matt Reardon, EDC Director for Economic Revitalization Area Abatement.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a request for assistance from a company that's looking to locate in LaPorte County. As Councilman Novak pointed out, company purchased property and had a ribbon cutting, and that's just the beginning of their project. The request is for personal property tax abatement consideration that comes along with creation of the economic revitalization area. I like to give the existing conditions for these kind of things before the council would make a decision. So today there's 28.788 acres at 3500 East Central Avenue. If anybody in the crowd knows where that is, my hat's off to you. It's deep in Kingsbury. This company, Nexus, applied for a variance, or excuse me, a special exception permit, and was awarded by the Plan Commission for their operations of their biogas facility. And in addition to that, the company is required to procure a limited solid waste permit, which they did from the Indiana Department of Environmental Management in June of 2023. And in order for them to do all that and get everything organized, that was before they had to buy the property and closed. So what you have before you is a resolution that would allow for consideration for personal property tax abatement. So again, going back to the existing conditions, the county annually receives the total tax bill is $492 on this parcel. Simply by the change of use of this facility, that would go up annually to approximately $78,000 in assessment. You go from assessment of $1,200 to $20,000 per acre for commercial industrial. So the total investment $70 million. 11 jobs with 1.1 million wages, and over the 10 years, we would collect $1.7 million in both real property and then the graduated relief from personal property. Part of the other operations of this and is that with this permit they procured from IDEM, they're required to decommission this facility if it doesn't work. And that would be some of the concerns that might be out there. What happens if it doesn't work? We know what happens when it doesn't work. It's part of their approvals from the state. There's also a hold on financing related to that cost and embedded into the approval of the contract. The company has to also report out quarterly their operations and their level of participation. So we have a lot of sets of eyes on this, not just the county from the Plan Commission side, but also the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. If the council sees fit to approve this resolution, during the next meeting, there would be a public hearing and consideration for approval of the statement of benefits that was included in your packet. And before that, you would have a public hearing and then a confirmatory resolution. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Motion to read the resolution by title only.
I'll second and then a question for you. This is located inside the TIP TIF,
Yes.
correct?
Right.
So this abatement isn't actually impacting the county's property tax collections, it's impacting yours.
Well, technically, it's not at
great.
all because we collect only real property in our TIF district. So this does not abate any of the real property tax, only personal property.
So it would affect the county then?
It would have an impact on the county, yes. It would actually increase the amount of money the county gets over the $492 a month in year two by thousands. That's what it would do.
Thank you.
All right, so I have a motion and a second to read by title only. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? By title only,
Okay,
please.
we're going to call this resolution number 2025-3B, as in boy, a resolution of the LaPorte County Council identifying and declaring portions of the LaPorte County, Indiana, be designated as an economic revitalization areas pursuant to IC Section 6-1.1-12.1-1 et sec.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Novak.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kessler. Any discussion? That, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you.
See you next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. New business. Permission to hire a 4-H administrative assistant for the Purdue Extension Office.
President, are all these just to replace current employees? Is there anybody new on this, or just all replacing current employees?
These are all existing employees. You'll see that 3 of them, including the permission to search for maintenance person and HVAC technician, who was given permission to begin the process by me earlier.
Make a motion to approve all these.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, second by Mr. Novak.
Question, is that where that treasurer's office hiring was also?
No.
We had that down under old business.
Okay.
So motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. So now we are on HR Director, Ms. Monique Thomas, on behalf of the Personnel Committee. We have reevaluation of the MS4 Director position. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Monique Thomas, HR Director. In February, we met with the Evaluation Committee met, and we reevaluated the MS4 Coordinator Director position. And I believe you all have the information in your packets that was submitted to you, the outline of the budget and the duties and responsibilities that were updated from the current MS4 person who was doing the job. So I don't know, at this time, I'm asking for the position to be accepted.
So what I have here is I have an email requesting for the reevaluation to be on the agenda. Is there additional information that was supposed to be involved with this? I see you looking to Mr.
Do you have
DiMartino.
something, Dan?
Well, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Just a little background, and not to point fingers at anybody or anything like that. You know, we've had issues over the years with MS4. A couple of years ago, IDEM really came down on us with the new permitting, and Mr. Beege and myself put together that whole ordinance. Remember that, Mr. Beege, with the permit?
I do.
Because we were up against the gun with that. And the MS4 department has really struggled, partially because it's such a technical job. You have all the regulations for the state, you have the permit regulations, you have stormwater regulations, and you have all these technical requirements. So in looking at this, we've had some discussions with Mr. Karanka, with Mr. Kessler, with Mr. Pressel about how we can make the department stronger and actually make the department exemplary. So eventually, if the county decides to go forward, it can make its MS4 department a utility in and of itself. So in order to do that, you need somebody with the technical qualifications. And so part of this, what went before the Job Evaluation Committee was the fact that in order to have this job, you need to have a bachelor's of science in environmental, civil engineering, natural resources, or a related field. You have to have 10 plus years of experience in stormwater management. You have to be certified as a stormwater professional. This is really a professional and technical job. And so based on that, this information was submitted to the Job Evaluation Committee. In looking at the numbers and in looking at the actual program, within 18 months, this program should be self-sufficient. So any additional funding at that point in time from the council will really not be required the county will be able to support that office and support that position with technical reviews. And then then the next step at that point in time we can look at actually make the MS4 and stormwater area a utility where it can actually be very supportive for the county. So this would be the first step in doing so. You know, there was, over the years, you had an MS4 coordinator, then it went under the building department, and you remember when we had all that stuff where is it going to be under the commission, under the building department, and all that. This will give the office some structure and to move forward. Does anybody have any specific questions?
Mr. Yagowski.
When we first had to introduce the idea of the MS4 in 2004, we worked with all the communities to get everybody in. I agree with what you're saying, by the way, Mr. DiMartino, but I'm also suggesting when we talked about making savings for the county, I'd really like to work with other municipalities, and if this person is as strong as you say that person would be, we would bring them all back into the fold, and we'd all pay a percentage of this like we did in the past. What happened was our person that we had didn't do a good job in Michigan City, bowed out first, and havoc happened after that. Then we all separated, and we all, it's my turf and not yours, and so on and so forth. But I think if we had the person you say we have, I think we could make a logical stance and say that we could bring us all back together again, and everybody pay their fair share by municipality. And we've already had that worked out in the past.
I would agree, but I think first we have to have a strong department. So like Michigan City and Long Beach who bowed out, and then Trail Creek who bowed out, where these other municipalities would see that this would be the right way to go. But you know, right now we're having some stress, for lack of a better word, with the folks at Michigan City.
I understand. I'm saying that was a backup. I'm agreeing with your first part.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the second part happen if we could do that. That's all. Thank you.
Any further questions?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Guy.
So we need approval of this?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve. Second, third.
And specifically, what is the approval doing here?
Restructuring of the MS4 department.
Mr. Keel, I believe it's also changing the salary requirements and how Mr. Vicari will be getting paid. He'll be getting money from the grant that he's managing on the stormwater side. And there's some other aspects to it, but I don't have that in front of me. I don't know if Ms. Thomas has that in front, but
didn't we say it was the permitting fees that part of it will come from the permit fees?
Part of it still comes from soil and water.
Yes.
Right.
And then there's also money in the fund that's built up for the fees that we've been getting over the years. The only additional funding, I believe, at this point in time is $15,000 that's going to be requested at some point in time. But right now there's money. And so that's what I believe the numbers are.
Will this require an amendment to the salary ordinance?
It will.
Really? Yes.
It'll be effective immediate, right?
Well, we would have to make that change for probably the next revision.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, didn't we talk that it would be effective July 1st?
I think so.
Right. I think because there was a period of time there, they didn't want it to be effective immediately. They wanted to, because there's some restructuring things that have to take place. So I think it was July 1st.
Okay. Mr. Yagowski.
Sorry, maybe I'm a little confused. With the statement that was made, I thought we were going to pay a little bit more money for the person that we're bringing in with the education, not for anybody existing right now.
Well, that is the person with the education.
That's the person that
Vicari has the bachelor. Yes, he has he has all those requirements.
Okay, we brought him in under the salary we had, but now we're saying that we're reevaluating to the higher level, right?
So Paul started as a soil and water gentleman that ended up absorbing a portion of the MS4 program when we split it 3 ways. Okay. And now it's looking to expand everything under him.
Okay, thank you. Yep, just appreciate it.
All right, so the one last question I had is, assuming that this came out as an unclassified position, this was not a, okay. Is there a dollar value affiliated with it?
I think it was
It was
$15,000.
$15,000, that's all.
It's not an additional appropriation, it's just restructuring of the money that's there.
Okay. All right. One more question.
I'm sorry, not a question to reference this. Last month's meeting, there were some people that brought it up, just came up here. When we make these resolutions for this salary ordinance, to us, it's just a technicality. Somebody said that we sort of just blatantly voted for it last month's meeting. I had two people ask me why we were so nonchalant about it, because we didn't really see it. I'm just saying, as long as everybody understands, it's just a technicality for what we have to, for the state, for us to do it for statute. Yeah. That's all.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
On to old business. Transfer riverboat funds to rainy day fund per ordinance in the amount of $337,005.64. Ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second with a question. Does this catch us up with all of the transfers
Yes.
up to this point?
We will be expecting a payment in the next 2 months, and then we'll have the next one come in, and then we'll immediately, the following month, after it comes in, immediately the following month. This has been a catch-up from October and I think January. For some reason, that's the way it works. So April will be the next one, more than likely.
Okay.
And we'll just get it on the agenda regularly, quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Is this reflective in the fund balances you gave us tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So
Wanna
it
make
actually
sure.
reduced it on, when you take a look at the fund balances, I gave you a cash flow statement behind it, and it shows that it took the reduction on it, and that's how I got a revised balance.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion by Mr. Novak, second by Mr. Keel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now we're on to Treasurer's Office first or second deputy discussion. Mr. Barney. Thank you for coming this evening. So just to kind of preface this a little bit, there was some questions came up as after the January meeting to where you approached us asking to backfill a position and that being a first deputy, which is what was clearly called out in the request during the meeting. As it was reviewed, we went through the salary grid and we saw that the opening was actually in a second deputy position, not a first deputy position. So if you could just speak to that for us a little bit and figure out where we're going to go from here.
Sure, I'll give you a little clarity. When I won the election, I went back to 2019 and I read all the audit reports that the state did from 19 to 22 because that was what was available. Wrote down all the areas that I think needed improving. Then I went in the office and I met with each employee. I took the job description that I received from HR department, said, this is what you're being paid for. Are you doing the job descriptions? And I went through that with each person in the office. And there was some that were doing it and then some that really weren't doing it. So we did a little restructuring because some people weren't doing what their job title was. So that's how this come about. The first deputy became available. You have to understand that the treasurer's office deals with $690 million worth of transactions a year. So your chief deputy and your first deputy you may as well look as the guardrails for our office. They're the ones that do the checks and balances and dot the I's and T's and make sure the office is doing what it should be doing for the public of LaPorte County. I don't believe that LaPorte County's had a strong first deputy in quite a while doing what the job description I received from HR is. And I think that's been one of the problems with the office. The chief deputy cannot handle that much on their own. It's just too much for one person to do. They need a strong first deputy to back them up to do it. So with the restructuring, that was the job that was open. We need someone to back up my chief deputy to make sure the office is staying on track. I mean, the right and left guardrail, keep the treasurers down the path to success. That's basically what it boils down to.
Any questions from the council?
So You have this person already, or this is a new position?
There was always a first deputy in the office. That person that was in that current position wasn't doing that job. So they actually were doing a different job. So we restructured, and now that we need to what that entailed was bringing that first deputy off of that first deputy position open, because that job is not being fulfilled yet.
So it's just restructuring. You're not putting a new person in anywhere, or is there a difference in pay?
Yeah, I guess there would be a difference in pay.
So you got that money in your budget?
Yes.
And man,
absolutely.
Why is there a difference in pay for your first deputy but not the previous first deputies? And is is the first deputy now the second deputy?
I can't answer why the pay was how it was.
So was the first deputy now the second deputy?
Correct.
And that person didn't get the pay that the new person's getting?
And they were not doing the work either. So
they didn't, but they never got the pay.
No, correct. They did not.
Right. But the job description calls for that.
The job
that pay, you're saying.
If you follow the job description, yes. And I can give you a job description if you want. I got copies right here.
I don't need it. No.
Mr. Yagowski.
So I can understand, I'm sorry, so you're just moving people around. Nobody has been additionally hired?
Correct. We had one leave, and that's why there was a vacancy.
Right.
So we're not hiring a new person.
No, it's okay.
Right.
Thank you.
You didn't bring a new person in?
We're not hiring a whole new position.
Correct. You filled a vacancy.
Correct.
Correct. But you've already filled it.
Correct.
Even though you asked for the second deputy. But
No, I did not. I asked for the first deputy.
But there wasn't a vacancy at that time.
Yes, there was.
Why? Because you moved that first deputy to the second?
Because, yeah, when I met with everybody, we reorganized the office, basically.
So that person took a loss of pay then?
No, they did not, because that person, I don't know how, I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to reveal stuff that I shouldn't.
Okay,
but everyone is doing, they weren't.
We're agreeing, but the first deputy, what does it pay?
Comment 6.
Right.
Is what?
What does the second deputy pay?
Comment 5.
So somebody had to be reduced.
Except for on the job description, the salary grid, there was all 3 positions were comment 5s.
Correct.
Correct. And does a job description for a second deputy, is that a comment 5? Is it
Second
listed
deputy
as
is a comment 5. Yes, sir.
Mr. Auditor.
Even though they hadn't been in a long time.
I just want to add this fact.
6.
The person that was moved from, that was a Deputy 1, was paid as a comment 5 for all the years that she was in that position. So in order to get it to a comment 6, you would have to go through the Job Reevaluation Committee. That is it. It's simple. That's what the records show. That's what historically.
That's what the salary ordinance shows?
Yes.
Okay, so right now, currently, there's no loss of anything, no matter, you don't have to even say, they're all 5s right now. So the 1 and 2 are 5s.
His 1 is a 6.
And not according to our records.
It's what I'm saying is the one they brought in, they're paying as a 6, even though the salary ordinance says they're 5s.
Mr. Auditor, since payroll.
I can't pay anything more than a 5 if that's all it is. It has to go through the Job Reevaluation Committee.
And the salary ordinance would need to be changed.
Yes, once it gets through the Job Reevaluation Committee, and it also can go, and you can make the change and make it retroactive. But right now, I have to go with what.
No, we understand.
Where we are.
Thank you.
Okay.
Has it been requested already to go to a Job Evaluation Committee? No.
I can't speak for that.
Well,
I think that's part of why I brought this here, is to make sure that we got all of the steps lined out so we can get stuff resolved. So if it's not so inappropriate, I would just say, Ms. Thomas, if we could put this on to the next Job Evaluation Committee agenda so that we can get this righted properly, because I see where you're at. We have a grid that says 5. We have a job description that says 6. Let's make sure it meets 6 and get it resolved.
And my whole goal is to make sure everyone in the office is doing the job that they're being paid to do. That's the whole goal. And for whatever reason, some things weren't happening, and I think that's part of the reason the office didn't do as well as it should have. So. And it's not none of the employees'
Regardless of that, your process, you didn't follow it. You kind of jumped the gun a little bit.
Well, I was working with HR. I've only been here, less than 3 months, so I thought I was doing it right. I've met with HR 2 or 3 times, 3 or 4 times actually. So I thought I was following the process right. I come in to you guys and told the office that we wanted to fill and why. I actually said job description to the president of the council, so we knew exactly what was going on. So I thought I was doing everything right.
Yep.
No one said anything different to me, so.
Mr. Attorney, how does this, if we have a job description, it's 2019? Is that what you said?
2009.
9?
Or 6 to 9, somewhere.
An old job description, and the salary ordinance has been changed to reflect different things.
Somewhere along the line, your paperwork didn't catch up with each other, apparently.
Well, the salary ordinance gets approved every year, so that hasn't been updated since '09.
Well, I think it comes down to job evaluation. I mean,
The committee, right.
yeah.
Mr.
yeah.
Yagowski.
Great.
Mr. Novak, one way easily would be that we didn't, that, just because you put that down as a job as 6, and the council disapproves it, that's how it probably happened. We probably didn't approve it and it stayed at 5. That's how it happened.
I agree.
That's how it can be different.
Yep, that makes sense.
Agree.
And let the record show you're the only one
You don't have
here.
to prove we don't have to prove everything the committee says.
True. Okay. So I think we've sufficiently covered for everybody.
We'll get that
I'd
committee
just like a
before the
copy of
next
that, though,
meeting.
if I could.
Job description?
You know?
Monique, is it possible that that meeting could occur between now and the next council meeting so we can get this resolved at the next one? Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have the job description for 1 and 2?
I'll do one first and two.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll bring one up.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was 06.
Thank you.
You were still. Thank you.
All right. I think we're good.
Thank you.
So we're good?
We're good.
And it was advertised as a comment 6, just so you know that too.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, moving on to appropriations, transfers, and requests. And just to add a little clarity for a moment, folks, we are going to have to either discuss and hold over to the next meeting or provide motions of support for these individual items, as we had a mishap regarding advertising. So my effort here is to make sure we get everything in March adequately discussed to where we can fast track through those in April and manage the April appropriations as necessary. Understood? Okay. With that, I have an item that we tabled last month. I've entertained a motion to pull this off the
I take a
table.
motion, to take it off the table.
Motion from Mr. Yagowski, second from Mr. Novak. All in favor of removing the LaPorte County Auditor permission to appropriate funds from the Auditor's Ineligible Deductions Fund 1216 off the table? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now entertaining a motion or any discussion, I guess, at this point. Mr. Otter, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, at the last meeting, we started a discussion, but then there was a mention that I would give you a list, and so I provided you a list. These are some of the things that we went ahead when we had a motion of support, and we stopped purchasing anything once we wanted to make sure that everything went through. There are additional things that we still need. We have 3 computers that are very slow, so those are some of the things that we'd be adding on the unexpended balance. We also talked about moving, and we did, you approved it, to move a Comment 5 person instead of taking it out of the insurance fund, which is, we weren't exactly sure how well that was being funded, and that's what this person's to come in and do, this insurance deputy, and we figured out what it would be for the remainder of the year, and it comes out to just close to about 61,000, but that was at full months. We're no longer at full months, but we're ready to hire somebody immediately. Okay, we've already selected the person. They don't know it yet. We're just waiting for it to be approved here. So we figured that $60,000 would cover it, plus the $20,000 that we originally asked for, and that's why we came up with the $80,000. Last month, when we threw out a number, we threw out a number of $70,000, but that was just because we hadn't had a chance to calculate what the salary is.
Okay, any questions?
Motion of support.
Motion by Mr. Novak, second by Mr. Mullenhour. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
The vote shows 6-1.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are now down to requesting additional appropriations for DEFC contract from 2024. Mr. Auditor.
Give me a second.
No problem.
There's a little bit of history with yours.
So DEF Consulting, just for short, was hired by Tim Stabos. This person had been working with a company by the name of SEH, and Mrs. Stabos wanted to retain the person. A contract, an engagement contract came in and on April, and Mrs. Stabos was told by the attorney to stop because this person was already working, wasn't supposed to be working on anything, but the person continued to work because this was something that needed to be done. Come July, the contract was brought up again, but it was on August 7th at the commission meeting that they denied the contract. I'm not going to go into all the things that were said about it, but they denied the contract. This person continued to work. This person did help put together, although the filing was 4 weeks late, they did perform this work. So therefore, in speaking, and unfortunately he's no longer on the line with us, at the time when I spoke to the attorney, this was really at the beginning of the year, because I didn't know how to pay this. I went to the commissioners and they refused. I could not get 2 signatures for them to put it through claims, so therefore I have to come to you. And Mr. DiMartino felt that this person had done the honest work that was requested of him, and therefore that we should be paying him. So that's why I brought it up to tonight, so that we can move this forward and get this done. We are, and that's all I have. But, you know, I don't want, like I said, I don't want to go into too many details, but there's a lot more, and we just, you know, give you enough.
Okay. Thank you. With that,
it looks like someone has a question.
Not so much. You're just looking for a motion of support, right?
Well, that's what we laid out for this to be. So we want to get it ready so it can be paid, because this was dated back, let me just see, the invoice was dated December 30th. So, and the work was ended in August. And, you know, you've seen it. It's very detailed.
I'd make a motion of support to recommend the payment of Mr. Bowditch for this work. Is that sufficient motion?
that's sufficient.
Second.
So motion from Mr. Keel, second from Mr. Mullenhour. Any further discussion? With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
5-2. Yagowski, Novak.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, now we're down to community crossings matches. From Mitch Bishop, County Planner. I know that Mr. Sullivan is here in his stead. Request to appropriate $1,699,407.48 and a permission to spend for matching community crossings grants. We approved with a motion of support coming from Motor Vehicle Highway, account 1176.
Yes, this is Jay Sullivan, County Engineer.
Motion support.
Motion support.
Motion support, Mr. President.
Second.
Second. Any questions? Discussion?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Jay. FMEC, request for additional appropriation for fairgrounds improvements, to the amount of $150,000.
Hi, Joy Ziegler, FMEC manager. I'm not requesting as much as that guy just did, so it should be a little quicker.
Work that way.
I'll work up to that amount. You're right. No, I think you guys have the list of what we're looking to do this year. We're not doing any major projects, just trying to keep up on some housekeeping and some maintenance so we don't run into bigger issues down the road.
Is that any questions from the list of projects?
See, it's roughly 192,000, but I see you're asking for 150, right?
Correct. We do have some buy-in from, I know Pioneer Land on working with some of their stuff too. They'll be contributing some funds. The amount hasn't been set yet, but they'll be contributing into that, as well as we're hoping the Fair Association will as well. And then we'll cover what we need to get that done. So this is just a tentative plan on what we're looking at. But yes, only asking for 150.
Motion to approve, or support.
Motion and support from Mr. Mullenhour.
Second.
2 seconds between Mr. Kessler and Mr. Pressel. Any discussion?
Another question. Has the work for this already been contracted out?
No.
No, but we've gotten bids for several of those with the pricing too on different ones. So we've gotten bids for each one coming in, but we haven't had it contracted
That's
yet.
going to be my follow-up question.
The milk cabin replacement has started.
Yes, because we had to do that to get it out of the way for fair.
So they could build
Right.
a new cabin, so.
All right. Any further discussion? That?
The only thing that gives me pause with this, I feel like it needs to be said, we're looking at a particularly large fiscal problem later this year, and this is a hefty chunk of money. Not saying I'm opposed to it, but we may end up regretting this later.
We may, if we don't do it, we may be regretting it also. So.
These are going to lead to bigger problems down the road, and it's going to be a lot higher dollar amount to fix what's going on out there for security purposes, especially with the fencing and all of that in there. It can exceed way more than 150.
And the other thing is with all the money we've already spent inside the community building, let's get a roof on it to make sure we don't have water stains and everything else.
And there are things that FMEC has been paying for with rental and different things. So there's a substantial amount of money that's coming.
Yeah, I see some things are safety issues too, and of course, we're always concerned with that fair time. And
Absolutely, and not just fair time, the rest of the year too. There's a lot going on out there. We've already looked, I've looked at the calendar at the beginning of the year, and even now it's more so. There's less than quarter of the weekends that are available out there. So
That's good.
There's a lot of people that use that grounds. I don't think everyone realizes that. I've been out there my whole life, and I didn't realize how much it was used either. So there's a lot of people that go out there. So definitely safety is highest importance.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, all in favor of motion and support?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay. All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Joy.
Mr. President?
All right.
Oh, you go ahead. Read your item. Sorry.
So, request from E911 requesting additional appropriation for a new vehicle for $49,545.
Mr.
Houston.
President, before you go into line, I'd request to have this item held over just so that with the information that we received from Enterprise last year, I'd like to talk to them to see if this is something that we could do a little pilot program with a few cars, because I think there's a couple other offices that are looking for something. So since we have to hold it over anyway, but I need to reach out to Enterprise to make sure they're willing to do a smaller number of cars than the entire fleet. So if the council's...
Well, before it gets tabled, I'd like to ask a couple questions too.
Absolutely. I didn't motion, that wasn't a motion to table. It was just a redirect.
I guess my first question would be, well, first thing, I think it's ridiculous, a brand-new SUV, $49,545 for a vehicle that kind of money to run some errands and that. Did you check into a pickup trucks?
If we get a pickup truck, Mike, it would have to have a cab on the back of the truck.
Yeah.
This way.
Possible.
Well, it's not impossible, but would it be additional
A lot cheaper than
expense?
$49,000.
I don't know that
Or a
that's
cab,
true.
you know.
Any vehicle is expensive these days, and I'm not sure that that's true, that it would be the
What kind of things are being hauled in it?
all kinds of tools. He hired
So you think a $49,500 vehicle should be used to haul tools?
Well, it's better than the one that we have now with 160,000 miles on it.
Well, my suggestion would be you'd get another one from the sheriff's department. that's in
The
good
sheriff
shape
doesn't
and,
have another one, Mike.
they've held two over, I understand, so I think
All
they
right,
have to
folks.
hold three.
Okay, folks, let's dial it down just a little bit. I'm sorry, but let's keep the banter to one at a time. Mr. Ugelski.
Yeah, I'm not. I think that if you try to tell the public this conversation that you actually can read this statement. I'm not saying that nobody needs a new vehicle by all means, but the statements were made that we get hand-me-down vehicles. There's nothing wrong with that when there's non-emergency cars. First one had 110,000 was a Chevy Tahoe 2012. This one does have 160,000 miles on it too. The thing about miracles and that I'm not quite understanding because the miles are not that high. We change oil regularly, batteries, transmission fluid, everything. We do all that maintenance work on it. I mean, I just traded my last truck in 200. Go ahead, I can tell you all they want for 240,000 miles on. I get it. My one I bought here right now is 130,000 miles. That's 2018 Ford F-150. If the vehicle needs to be replaced, it doesn't necessarily mean we can't just go on the market and buy a used vehicle or something like this. This is not a requirement for some high-speed chase or for any emergency type of situations. And or, like Mr. Molnar brought up, again, if this particular car needs to be replaced, I'm okay with that. But these miles are not unusual for cars, unless our county only picks the lemons. We must be the only county because I purchased a truck that drives just fine with that mileage on it. So I'm not quite understanding when they come up with this story to come up with, because this hand-me-down was not a big deal. Because I remember when we gave it with 110,000. That's a low mileage car.
Just for clarification, this vehicle didn't go straight to the 911 center.
No.
This vehicle went through the other offices, the commissioner's office. The commissioner's office dumped it and wound
And I
up
believe
here.
maintenance also had it prior to us.
So it's been around.
So
all I'm saying.
So if we can just scope.
agree with you.
Well, I don't think that's the argument. It's been around and it's wore out. But like Mark, Councilman Ugelski just mentioned, the county department, the sheriff's department does the mechanics out there, and I think we all know it, do an extremely good job of maintaining these vehicles.
Not
And
saying that
wouldn't
they
be-
don't. They have said that the car's on its,
That car, yes, but the sheriff's trading in 9 other vehicles now. That's what I'm talking about. I think, and I believe the commissioners are holding 2 of those. So evidently they're not junk. I think we could probably hold 3 would be my guess. And all I'm asking is maybe you should look into that. And if it would be a new vehicle, I would think a pickup truck would be a lot more reasonable than cost. In fact, I know that, probably $10,000, $15,000 cheaper. And that'd be brand new, crew cab, just like they buy. And you could put a cap on it or whatever for a lot less than $49,545.
So let me just to clarify, you are requesting us to get a bid on a pickup truck with a cab for less money.
Cap.
I'm sorry. Cap.
I think you should
on the
look
back
into it,
for
certainly,
less than
as well as what Councilman
and
Novak just
new
mentioned.
or used.
Pardon?
New or used.
That either way, it's got to be cheaper than $49,000. Have you looked into any of that?
I have not looked into a pickup truck. No.
Okay. Well, you know the sheriff's department gets them, and they get them for a reason because they're
Does the sheriff's department, are they
crew
trading
cab
one
just
in?
sitting out here.
Are they trading one in?
I believe.
I don't know, but
my understanding that they checked into, I don't believe there's much left after the commissioners take the 2. But he's coming up, he can ask him.
they're trading SUVs in, and you got an SUV now, and evidently it was satisfactory. And like I say, you just said you put tools in the back of it. You're hauling tools,
And an air
you want to haul tools in a brand new Chevy
We beat it.
Yeah.
Tahoe.
$49,545. That's ridiculous.
So, okay. So let's talk scope for a moment, just to scope the problem. Right now, we've talked about, the expense, but what do we need it for? If you could walk through daily use, weekly use, what's stored in it, and what's the purpose?
He stores tools and an air conditioning system in it. He goes to the towers and looks at the towers. If they're overheating, he makes sure that they aren't. That's one. The way it used to be is they would just call Chicago or Chi-Com, and it would be an expense for them to come and take a look and see what's going on. Matt goes and routinely checks our towers. He also goes to the different departments if they need phone service to hook up their phones. He works on the radios. He does quite a bit other than just his job in the 911 center.
So this isn't a pool vehicle. This isn't to go from here to Michigan City Courthouse. It's basically a service vehicle. It's being
A
used
service vehicle, yes. And if we could get one for less than $49,000, I'm not opposed to that. We just need a dependable vehicle. If a pickup truck is better with the cab on the back, is it cab? Cap on the back. We're not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to it. I haven't checked into it, so I have no idea what they cost.
Is this a take-home vehicle, or is this just purely for service calls?
He does take it home. He lives 5 miles from the center.
But he's on call.
He is on call.
So he comes into the center. Or goes to the tower.
If there is a problem, they call Matt. He does go.
Okay.
It's the only vehicle in the 911 center.
The only one.
So, it's, yeah.
Yes, Mr. Yagelski.
Really quick, Mr. Novak, not for a debatable question, but when the commissioners were given, we gave the commissioners 3 cars for the commissioners to use, not prior to this year. They decided to jump the vehicles. They took our vehicles we gave them and traded our vehicles in.
I remember.
So let's just say that nobody dumped any vehicles. They decided they just didn't want them.
No.
So they made that decision on their own.
My point was this vehicle's
I understand that.
shuffled around.
But to make a statement for people that drive cars, one vehicle, 2012, 110,000. This with 160 is not just to make a statement like that to the public. I guarantee people are driving cars like that, and we're doing. And these cars are.
My own vehicle has 98,000 miles on it, and I continue to drive it.
Understand that. I'm not saying that statements are tough to make statements like that when public has to drive cars like that.
All right. So, what's the pleasure of the council?
Motion table.
Second.
Motion to table and second. All in favor?
Aye.
I have a question. Since you've tabled it, you've tabled this.
Can't,
There's no questions.
I can't ask a question?
Nope.
about this particular agenda item? No, unfortunately, because it's been tabled.
Okay.
Feel free to reach out to us after the meeting.
I don't know now. Okay.
Thank you, Barb. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. I've caught you enough times with that one. All right, LaPorte County Clerk of the County Election Board tabled from the February meeting for an appropriation request of $26,221.21. Entertain a motion removed from the table.
Motion removed from the table.
Second.
Motion and second to remove from the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Mrs. Stevens.
I'm here.
So last month we talked about this request for, there was an invoice from, refresh my memory.
I believe we had one from No Ink and one from Microvote.
Sounds right, just working my section of the packet.
Who's at the back?
Now, these were,
There you go.
these were planned, these came out of the blue, what do we have?
Out of the blue.
Okay. So I see one for $13,210.50 and another one for $12,000, totaling $25,210.50. And here you're asking for $26,221.21. Is there something else?
I believe there was something to do with somebody's pay. Sorry, I'm home with the stomach flu, so I don't have everything with me.
Yes, please stay there. As I'm looking here, the email from Mrs. Barney.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely, Mr. Yagowski.
How do we end up tabling this? I'm sorry, I may have forgot. I apologize.
Because the numbers weren't adding up, and it wasn't for what we advertised.
Thank you.
Yep, correct.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So the concern during the meeting also was the fact that there's 3 recommended accounts that we transfer from in order to bridge this gap, but that only amounts to $25,500, was leaving $721.21.
You just added the two together, correct?
Right, but there was a third item that's not included with these 2 invoices.
I know.
Heather, regardless, since we're not able to actually appropriate the funds today, if we were to keep this for the April meeting in order to have line out all the concerns, is there anything that would be problematic for you or your vendors?
No, that'll be fine.
Motion to table.
Motion table for Mr. Yagowski.
Second.
Next meeting next month.
Oh, I thought we were gonna, what?
Been tabled reading.
We can't do anything this month.
Is it going to
We
question?
didn't do anything with any of them, but we did motions of support for them, so.
But this one
we're
we've
gonna
got,
table?
with this one, we've got a gap of trying to understand
Okay,
that.
all right. Never mind.
All right. All in favor of motion to table?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you, Heather. I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
All right. LaPorte County Sheriff requesting appropriation for vehicles from Lit Public Safety in the amount of $665,000.
Good evening, Councilman. Ron Haig, Sheriff. This is just our yearly vehicle allotment that we come to. We average about 13 vehicles a year. We're asking for an amount not to exceed $665,000 because we don't have trade-in values yet for our vehicles. Last year, we had a pretty good return on our used vehicles when we traded it in. I think we averaged about $5,000 a vehicle. We're hoping to get that much. So this, our actual expenditure will probably be less than this. We went with the 665 due to the fact that we don't have those trade-in values yet.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Mr. Yagowski.
So, Mr. Hague, every year you've always given me the given us the information. You have the information from all the used vehicles like we have in the past.
Yeah, I can email that to you.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have a thumb drive or something? Because emails, I don't have a computer at home. A thumb drive would be a lot
Yes,
easier.
I'll be glad to put it on a thumb drive for you and get it to you.
That'd be perfect. Thank
Yep,
you.
you bet.
And so nothing will be decided till we look over the vehicles, right? Used.
As far nothing will.
Well, in the past, you told them that the person you're buying from, you say there's a possibility the county may keep vehicles. So there's not going to be a question.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So it sounds like.
with this, because we don't have the trade-in values yet for the used vehicles, again, this 665 is going to be a little bit high case, and this will help us if we decide we want to hold another vehicle back or two. We have identified 2 that we are going to turn over to the commissioner's office.
President, motion for support.
Motion support for Mr. Yagowski.
Question.
Also,
Is there a second?
Okay,
I'll second it.
before we.
I'll
okay.
second it.
Second, Mr. Novak, in discussion.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I could have sworn we put this in the budget. Was this already budgeted?
No, we did not.
No.
It is.
It is in the budget.
For this amount?
So
Yes.
the,
Then we're good to go.
But as a courtesy, because it was a capital improvement item, and certain council members prefer to approve it, so it can be purchased without even coming here. But because it was budgeted, we wanted to give you the courtesy of doing that and having a general discussion.
just to clarify, on your monies that you gave us for availability,
Yes.
where it says the
You're looking for public safety
lit
lit is at 112 right now?
112,000, it says so this, what we're approving right here has already been taken out of there.
No, we get $707,000 a month, which is about $220,000 more than what we need. So by the time these are all paid for, we will have that money available.
Yeah, with our.
We just have to be very careful on the overtime and where that has to come from.
Right. With the marked vehicles, we can order them now, but we probably won't see them until late summer is what we're told. So there's 9 vehicles we won't probably see.
How much did we buy in cars last year?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What did we buy in cars?
We asked for 685, and I think we spent about 645.
That was in the budget. So that amount should be freed up for this year. Because if not, the public safety lit was budgeted out. I mean, there was no.
No, we're going to have an excess. It was thought to be budgeted out, but we're actually getting more money than what was in.
My thing is if we had in last year's budget,
yes,
those cars that went out last year, that money should be freed up for this next year.
Yes,
as long as we have it.
Maybe related to this, because I think it's probably raising some questions in some of our minds, but these are cash balances that take into account appropriations that have already been made. But
yes, they take us into next month. But I also gave you on the list so that you can see what the average additional monthly monies that come in on each one of these.
Correct.
So this way you can perceive what the cash flow is, and that's why I say that at this $225,000 a month, we're going to have, in 3 months, you're going to have $675,000. Boom, covered.
Yeah, so I bring that up just to say that that's different than the reports in the past were looking at what was budgeted and then what was remaining that hadn't been committed to something for that fiscal year. So it's a slight difference in, not saying that it's any worse or anything.
Yes, there is, because I wanted you to be able to understand that, in this case, there is a surplus. I've analyzed this from every month because I was watching this. But you should also know, one of the reasons why it is this low, the pension's paid.
Can you also, can you send us the current public safety lit budget for this?
Without a
next
problem.
year?
We'll get that out to you tomorrow.
Just so that we can.
It'll be later in the day. We have some
No,
meetings in the
it's
morning,
fine.
but I'm going to,
Okay, yeah.
we can easily get that out.
Yep.
All right, so I have a motion of support and a second. Any further discussion? With that, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has the cash balance for public safety.
Over to LaPorte County EMS requesting additional appropriation from Lit Public Safety for overtime in the amount of $150,000. How did you get stuck having to speak for this instead of Eric? All right.
Spring break.
Seniority.
Whenever we ask for money, that's how it goes. Brian Beach, Assistant Director of EMS. We're looking for $150,000 for overtime. We've already went through almost $200,000 so far this year. Currently have started the year off with 2 people in FMLA. Both came back. Have 2 more in FMLA now. 2 more starting in May. Plus all of the call-offs. We had a stint of like 3 weeks where everyone was sick, I think. So we've been paying out
one
quite a bit.
active duty.
And we got 1 on military active duty.
So this is entirely just to keep the assigned rigs on the road, not to have excess rigs.
Correct.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Novak.
Haven't spoke with Eric extensively about this at different times, and I know others have also. With the individual that's on active duty, we're saving his pay because because when they're on active duty, if everybody understands that we don't short his pay, he's making more on active duty than he would at the EMS.
Yeah, so we're not paying him out of his salary. That's actually in his
so
pot
it's being
still.
pocketed. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to reduce the 150 to 75,000. See where it falls with the money that they have left over in their 100 account, and see where it is, and come back and we can make it right, because his salary is 72,000, so it's going to put him right near that same.
Motion of support.
What'd I say?
We just said motion.
Support. I wasn't done. Just kidding.
All right.
Support.
I'll second it with a question on this number here that you have for us, 150,000. That was to finish the year, correct?
So we were hoping. So predictions on last year. Last year we ended up around this time again, maybe 1 month later. We ended up in the exact same boat. We came to you guys for 150. Somehow we made it through the year. Not sure how, but we did. We were kind of looking at the same thing. And to answer your question, Mr. Novak. Right now, I think you said 72,000. I believe that's pretty accurate. I'm not looking at it, so. Right. But he is due to come back October, so we will pay him for a few months of pay. Right now, I would say his surplus that we have sitting, that we know of right now, is probably around 20,000, maybe just over, just so you guys are aware.
Okay.
I guess I would just ask, make sure you keep an eye on it so that we don't get too close to the end of the year and then find out that there's a large amount of overtime that's needed.
Definitely. Keep an eye on it.
Absolutely.
Before I call for the vote, Mr. Auditor.
Yeah, I'd like to add the following thought. Knowing that we're going to continually getting money, the $707,000 a month into this, knowing that he's already stripped out at most of his budget amount, and therefore he can't be spending any more for that overtime that he's already spent in the first 4 months, 3 months, okay? So there's room there. When I told you that what they've been spending every month, that actually goes down because he can't spend it. So you really have room for the full 150 for the rest of the year. I don't know how to picture it without showing you layers
He
of it.
doesn't get to come up here and talk that often.
You can do it, you know.
It's like,
I've been there and just tried to make your life easy.
we haven't seen Brian in a long time.
Right. Okay. So we have a motion support by Mr. Novak, second by Mr. Keel for $75,000. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey.
Nay. Mr.
Thank you.
Yagowski. So if you would, for the April agenda, please list it as 75,000 instead of the
Yeah,
150.
we will.
Perfect. Okay, while you're still here, permission to spend from public outreach, $10,000.
So can I lump those two together, the next
Sure,
two?
let's talk about them both. So we have public outreach for 10 grand, and we've got permission to spend from donation account for 2,500.
So this is going to be funds that are going to get us through EMS week. It'll get us through EMS week. It'll get us through Fair Week, all of our PR stuff we do during the fair. Any of our, we've been doing some career fairs lately, so all of our PR stuff for that. And then also EMS World Expo in Indianapolis, which we're attending this year. The Visitors Bureau was gracious enough to donate $5,000 to get us a booth, so that way we can represent the county, represent LaPorte County EMS, kind of sell the county, sell the service to everyone else, essentially in the world, because it's a world expo.
Okay. When it comes to the public outreach stuff, when you say the county fair and those sorts of things, what is it that you're looking to gain? You don't have currently any openings. Are you looking to develop the workforce in order to backfill upcoming retirements? Or
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, unfortunately, in this line of work, people come, people go. I mean, we try to retain as best as possible. I don't want to beat you guys up on money, but obviously money plays a big role in it. And when someone can go somewhere else for more, that's what happens. Sometimes I feel like we're a stepping stone for them. We train them and they ship off. So we try to figure out a way, even with some of these community outreaches or like the expo, trying to get that buy-in, trying to get them to retain them, things like that. So the more we can put ourselves out there, the better we can sell ourselves, the better off we're going to be.
All right.
Motion of support.
Motion support by Mr. Novak.
For both.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. Any further discussion?
Question, are we sure these are permission to spend and not an appropriation?
Well, they're,
I'm pretty sure our ordinance for,
there's an additional, well, for this one, permission to spend, it's out of their ordinance. Can you double check that by next month?
Yeah. We'll work with them.
Okay.
So whatever.
So do we want to treat this as a support, or is this a?
It's a motion of support because you're not going to spend it between now and next month anyway.
We can wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So get a
Good with it?
clarification on that.
All right. So motion is support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Brian.
All right.
Jane Bernard Animal Shelter requesting permission to appropriate $35,000 to fund 4,100 for animal shelter donations into other services and charges. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Rachel Delaney, Director for Jean Bernard Animal Shelter.
So you broke down everything here. It looks like there's a surplus in addition to these individual amounts that you have for about $4,000. I'm assuming that's to cover any other minor costs here and there, and that
Correct.
makes sense from comes to the donation account. With that, is there any other questions?
approve.
Motion to approve. Or
Motion
support.
of support. Motion to approve the motion of support.
All right, so we.
Quick. You guys are too quick.
All right, so we have a motion of support from Mr. Novak.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kessler and Mr. Mullenhour. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
I'd just like to mention, I've heard nothing but good things coming out of
Wonderful.
the animal shelter now.
Very good. Thank you very much.
And she'd welcome all the volunteers.
You and your staff.
Yes.
All right, now we're down to LaPorte County Circuit Court requesting permission to appropriate Fund 2503 Domestic Relations, $50,000 into 2503, 30,135, and
There was nothing
273.
budgeted. There was nothing budgeted, so this is a way to budget.
Okay.
And that's why it's an appropriation. And just to let you know, there's $129,986 in there.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Support or approve?
Support.
Change motion to support from Mr. Novak. I'm assuming Mr. Kessler's good.
I'll
with it.
second that support.
All right,
Think I got it right once.
hoping there's no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Council and attorney comments. Mr. Mullenhour,
Nothing.
Mr. Keel.
One quick item. As we're nearing budget season, we have talked periodically about doing an efficiency study. If there's interest in doing that and we want it done before the budget season is over, probably ought to get started on it pretty soon. So I'm just throwing that out there to start the conversation. I don't know if there's other feelings about whether we want to go that direction, how we go about doing it, but I want to make sure I put it out there before we run out of time.
Is there more than one place that does that? Or I
have no idea.
Maybe get some information on who does
I
it.
did contact, they'll get back with me.
Okay, so is this something we've done in the past?
Yes.
All
I
right.
think Wagner, Owen, and Shealy did it before, right?
Not efficiency, no. Efficiency
efficiency.
that's not, they're to tell us if our numbers are all correct at the end of the day. Efficiency, whether the departments need what they need as far as making government quicker, easier, less people, so on and so forth. That has nothing to do with Wagner and Shealy, no.
Okay. But you've got a contact, you're working on it.
I've already talked to them.
All right.
Waiting for the feedback to come back. I should have it by next month's meeting.
I'd just like to mention that we did get a proposal from Baker Tilly, and at the time, we chose not to do it. So there was one just a few years ago.
Do you recall what the cost was?
Hi.
Okay. That's all you have to say.
I'm saying hello.
Justin, do you have anything else?
I think that's all I got.
Mr. Novak.
I just want to send out a condolence to the family of Rob Schaefer. He was a retired Michigan City firefighter, and he taught the fire science class at the what do you call it? A.K. Smith Center. Mr. Schaefer did not wake up this morning, so condolence. He was going to be 57 next month, way too young, and I worked with him for a lot of years in the fire department, and condolences to his family. So that's it.
Mr. Pressel.
No comments, Mr. President.
I'm good.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Who's the first? Who's the second?
I seconded.
All right, Kessler, Yagowski, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.